Sajo is an idiot soy boy who keeps getting rejected by his crush because of his crusty face. However, everything changes when he moves on and starts rizzing up hotter baddies. Now she'll do anything to get him to crack her cheeks instead. It all starts like any other day, with Sajo following Aika, trying to get her attention like a simp loser when Aika tells this pathetic excuse of an existence to leave her alone. Her words hit hard, and as she walks away, Sajo decides to grow a pair and leave her alone. Afterward, Sajo walks into class and simply sits down without bothering Aika like usual, which confuses everyone, seeing how nonchalant he is around Aika. After class, Sajo runs into Aika, who assumes he's here to bother her, and quickly tells him to get lost, but Sajo assures her that he simply wants to go to the bathroom and walks away, which disturbs her. Then, during lunch, Sajo gets approached by Rena, who tries to get close to him after she broke up with her ex. But Sajo shows that he's not interested, and Rena takes it as a sign to leave him for the day. However, the next day, Rena shows up again to get close to Sajo, but Aika's bestie, Ashita, decides to be rude and tease her for quickly jumping into a new man after her past breakup. Feeling hurt, Rena storms out of the room, and Sajo immediately chases after her to apologize and calm her down. During it, Rena notices that Sajo barely talks about Aika around her, and asks if he likes Aika. Sajo says that he loves her because of how kind she genuinely was to him when no one else was, and states that even if she doesn't love him, he wants to support her from a distance. Hearing that, Rena gets inspired to do the right thing, and confesses that she approached Sajo just to make him a rebound, and she promises to change. The next day, Ashita and Aika see Rena getting back together with her ex, and when they meet Sajo, Ashita feels sorry to see him get rejected by two girls in the same week. Aika asks if he's okay, and Sajo expresses how he's completely fine since he never saw Rena romantically in the first place. Later, back home, Sajo recalls the cringe moments he tried to get Aika to like him, and fully accepts that Aika is out of his league. But the anime gods refuse to let the plot die, and in that moment, Aika pops up in front of his house. They then sit down, and Aika admits that his sudden change from a simp to a nonchalant Chad bothers her. Hearing that, Sajo asks her to date him, and when she rejects him again, he reacts calmly and accepts it. Just then, his older sister, Kaide, pops up, asking if Aika is his hot baddie of a girlfriend, and Sajo simply says that she's here to talk about homework. Afterward, Sajo walks Aika home, and he tells Aika that he will stop chasing her and try rizzing up other baddies, but this hurts her feelings, so she calls him an idiot and runs home. The next day, the class gets a seat rearrangement, and Sajo gets moved far away from Aika. Ashita asks if he's okay about it, and Sajo says that it's perfect to give Aika some space. But Ashita points out that since Sajo constantly bothered Aika, no one else was able to make friends with her. Hearing that, Ajo now sees that his obsession has isolated Aika socially. Feeling guilty, he decides the best thing he can do is distance himself entirely so Aika can finally build normal friendships. During recess, Sajo watches Aika quietly from his new seat farther across the classroom, only talking to Ashita, and the sight fills him with regret. One of his friends walks over and jokes that he looks sad and asks why he stopped chasing Aika around. Hearing that makes Sajo truly realize that Aika wasn't alone because she wanted to be, but it's because of his constant presence that other students avoid her. Determined to fix the damage he caused, Sajo leaves the classroom to clear his thoughts. While wandering the halls, he suddenly runs into Shinomiya, the president of the Public Morals Committee. She immediately scolds him for frightening one of her committee members the other day, and Sajo quickly remembers how, while running after Rena, he accidentally crashed into a committee member carrying a pile of documents. He sincerely apologizes, insisting he never meant to scare her. Seeing this reaction, Shinomiya admits she doesn't think he had bad intentions, and explains that the girl, Nami, is a hardworking committee member who struggles with self-confidence, especially around boys. They then talk inside the committee office, and Shinomiya opens up about her own frustrations as leader of the committee, where every time tries motivating her team, her efforts usually backfire because everyone compares themselves to her impossible standards and loses confidence instead. Hearing that, Sajo tells her that instead of constantly pushing her members to improve, she should acknowledge their efforts more often and show empathy for what they struggle with. Shinomiya is genuinely surprised by how thoughtful his response is, and Sajo adds that people work harder when they feel their leader believes in them, rather than trying to get down on their level to try to understand them. Then, as Sajo is about to leave the room, Shinomiya asks for his name, and wanting to avoid attention from the Public Morals Committee, Sajo lies and introduces himself as Yamazaki. The next morning, Sajo heads to school with his older sister, Kaide, and Kaide asks if he and Aika have cracked since Aika visited their house. Sajo says they are simply classmates, but Kaide mocks him for having no balls and claims that he will never get his glizzy wet if he acts like this. Just then, they spot Aika walking ahead of them, and Kita hands Sajo his bag and orders him to go speak to spit some of his Riz game at her. Sajo then catches up to Aika, but despite their best efforts, watching paint dry is more interesting than their conversation. When they arrive at school, Ashita calls down from the stairs and warns Sajo that Shinomiya is furious at him for using a fake name. When he goes to look for her, he finds her in his classroom. When she sees him, she greets him as Yamazaki and tells him that she knows that he lied about his name, so she orders him to meet her during lunch break. As soon as she leaves, his buddy, the real Yamazaki, shows up, furious that Sajo dragged him into the situation. But Sajo calms him down and says that getting his name called by Shinomiya is an honor, which this ape-brained idiot buys into. At lunch, Sajo visits the committee office carrying snacks as an apology, and there, he finds both Shinomiya and Anami waiting for him. He awkwardly offers them the snacks before Shinomiya questions him about the fake name again. Sajo explains that being remembered by the head of the Public Morals Committee sounded dangerous, but Shinomiya points out that he sacrificed an innocent friend instead, and Sajo claims that Yamazaki himself is happy getting attention from a committee president such as herself. While Shinomiya doesn't understand his logic, Anami does, and when Sajo points that out, Anami gets scared, forcing Sajo to apologize again for frightening her. Seeing that, Anami helps out and explains that Shinomiya is a busty babe any man would simp for, and while flustered, Shinomiya now understands. Seeing that the situation is clear, Sajo tries to leave, but Shinomiya stops him to tell him the reason he's called. Anami then steps up and apologizes for misunderstanding him as a person. She also confesses that she wants to overcome her fear of men and do her best. Hearing this, Sajo can only wish her the best and leaves the room. As he walks through the hallway afterward, he glances into another classroom and notices Aika happily chatting with several girls, opening up to them like actual friends. There Sajo feels relief, realizing that his decision to step back is actually working. Right then, Kaide messages him asking for help in the student council room, and when he gets there, he is asked to help organize materials for the upcoming summer school trip. To everyone's surprise, this lazy donkey is extremely skilled at office work, and Kaide's fellow council members praise how efficient and reliable he is, leaving Kaide impressed by a side of her brother she rarely sees. Meanwhile, back in the classroom, Aika is getting along surprisingly well with her new group of friends, and one of them suggests visiting Aika's house over the weekend to meet her younger sister. As they are in the middle of making plans, Sajo walks into the room, and Ashita immediately asks if he wants to come too. Still committed to keeping his distance, Sajo dramatically refuses, joking that someone like him could never step foot inside the home of a goddess. Ike instantly shoots back that she wouldn't let her little sister anywhere near his crusty existence anyways. Later, while the girls continue discussing the weekend plans, Aika quietly looks towards Sajo, who seems completely detached from the conversation. Gathering her courage, she slowly walks over, secretly wanting him to join them. But before she can say anything, Shinomiya suddenly appears again and pulls Sajo away for another discussion, leaving Aika disappointed and jealous. In the discussion, Shinomiya explains that Anami has become depressed because she thinks Sajo never accepted her apology. Sajo then gives his honest opinion and says that Anami spends too much time trapped in negative thinking and needs to stop tearing herself down constantly. Shinomiya takes his advice seriously, and once their talk finally ends, Sajo leaves the room exhausted from dealing with everyone's emotional problems. Then, when summer arrives, the heat becomes unbearable across the school, but the moment Sajo enters his classroom, he feels immediate relief thanks to the newly installed air conditioner cooling the room. While enjoying the refreshing air, Ashita greets him in her summer uniform. Sajo immediately complains about how revealing her summer uniform looks, but Ashita reminds him that it's literally the official school outfit. He jokingly teases that a lot of dudes might start drooling in their lower regions seeing her. But then he spots Aika in her summer uniform and starts creaming himself with how beautiful she looks. Sajo asks Ashita how the weekend gathering at Aika's house went, but before she can answer properly, the teacher enters and starts class. During the lesson, Ashita quietly scrolls through photos from the weekend meetup, and she notices that while everyone had a blast, Ike seemed distracted the whole time, almost like she was waiting for Sajo to show up. Later, Ashita encourages Sajo to talk to Aika again, but Sajo refuses, insisting that him keeping his distance is necessary if Ike wants the chance to build genuine friendships with other people. After class, Sajo's friend, Sasaki, rushes over excitedly to talk about the gathering. He shows Sajo pictures from the visit to Aika's house, including several photos of Aika's younger sister. Sasaki comments on how adorable she is, and Sajo jokingly forwards the pictures to Sasaki's sister, Yuki, acting like he's more interested in the little sister than Aika herself. When lunch break arrives, Sajo plans to eat alone as usual, but Yamazaki spots him and drags him over to eat with a larger group that includes an annoying chick named Koga. The moment Sajo sits down, Koga points out how strangely quiet he has been lately and starts teasing him about his sudden Chad-like personality change. Then they start talking about Aika, and Sajo threatens Yamazaki for pulling him into such an awkward situation, but the girls keep pushing for details about his relationship with her. They even bring up Rena and ask whether anything ever happened between them. Before Sajo can properly respond, Aika suddenly appears beside the table. Without explaining anything, she grabs Sajo by the arm and drags him away from the group. Sajo is completely confused, wondering what he possibly did wrong this time. After pulling him aside, Aika awkwardly asks why he was casually hanging out with those girls, and she admits that she felt a little jealous watching him talk to other hoes than her. At that moment, Sajo finally realizes the reason behind her irritation, but as soon as Aika notices she revealed too much, she panics, tells him not to misunderstand her intentions, and quickly runs away before he can respond. Not long after, Ashita walks over and asks what happened. Sajo explains Aika's strange behavior during lunch, describing how upset she seemed seeing him around other girls. While talking through everything out loud, Sajo slowly starts suspecting that Aika's feelings toward him may be changing after all. Right then, a delicious-looking hunk of a student council member approaches Sajo and asks to speak with him privately. The senior mentions hearing rumors about Sajo's long obsession with a girl and wonders why he suddenly gave up. Sajo tells him that it's time of Rim to stop being a wimpy little brat and move on, but the upperclassman reveals the real reason he came to talk, which is Kaide. He reveals that Sajo's older sister has been deeply worried about his sudden change in behavior, and she believes that she might be responsible because she used to constantly criticize him when they were younger. According to the senior, Kaide feels guilty that her harsh words may have damaged his confidence over the years, and Sajo is shocked to hear that Kaide is actually blaming herself for something. The upperclassman explains that he already arranged for the siblings to meet on the school rooftop to clear things up, and as they walk there together, Sajo asks why he's getting involved in their family problems. The senior hints that Kaide once helped him through a difficult time, so now he wants to repay her kindness. Meanwhile, Aika and Ashita secretly trail behind them from a distance, curious about what's happening. On the rooftop, Sajo finds Kaide waiting for him, and to test how well she actually understands him, Sajo asks her to list 10 of his good qualities. Kaide immediately freezes and struggles to think of any. Seeing that, he asks her to list ordinary things about him instead, and she effortlessly names more than 10 almost instantly, from how his willy bends to the left to how he can watch One Piece and still call it a good show. That answer gives Sajo the reassurance he needs, and he tells Kaide not to blame herself for his situation with Aika. Even if her comments were harsh growing up, he believes she was simply being honest with him. Sajo explains that he gave up chasing Aika because he finally accepted that he's just an average guy. He also admits that he prefers Kaide the way she has always been, as the blunt, demanding, and impossible person to deal with sometimes. And if she suddenly acted overly kind and gentle, it would feel unnatural to him. Suddenly, Aika and Ashita come out from their hiding, with Aika upset seeing Sajo talking to his sister like this, and demands that he apologize. Instead of responding to her anger, Sajo asks why they are even here on the rooftop with them. The question instantly embarrasses Aika, because she realizes she has started following him around the same way he once followed her. Flustered, she claims it was all a coincidence before running away once again. Kaide also leaves soon after, calling Sajo an idiot on her way out, but with that insult, Sajo sees that their relationship is finally back to normal. That evening, Sajo returns home and finds Kaide relaxing on the sofa. Trying to smooth things over, he offers her a snack as an apology for how blunt he was earlier. Kaide accepts it while immediately going back to complaining about how the Promised Neverland and Tokyo Ghoul deserved proper adaptations. Sajo jokingly records Kaide on his phone while teasing her, which finally pushes her over the edge and earns him a solid punch to the face. The next day, Aika and Ashita chill at a coffee place, talking about the weekend gathering at Aika's house. Aika admits that she feels a little jealous seeing how quickly her younger sister became attached to everyone. But Ashita immediately calls her out and says that isn't the real issue. She brings up Sajo and reminds her of how disappointed Aika was when he never showed up. Ashita explains that Sajo's simping attention had become part of Aika's everyday life, and whether Aika is willing to admit it or not, she started to enjoy and became comfortable with the idea of someone liking her. But now that he suddenly stopped chasing her around, that familiar feeling is gone, which left Aika feeling empty inside. Aika tries denying it, saying that she hates being treated like that by Sajo, but Ashita refuses to let her discard her own feelings and insists that if Aika truly wants Sajo's attention back, she can't just wait and sit pretty, but has to make her own move towards him. Meanwhile, at Sajo's place, He and his sister are eating breakfast together, and Kaede notices how messy and overgrown his hair has become and immediately criticizes him for not taking care of his hair properly. Kaede points out that he used to care obsessively about his appearance, especially before school, which Sajo remembers. On his way to school, Sajo reflects on her comment and realizes that the main reason why he ever put effort into his looks was because he wanted to impress Aika and become the man of her dreams. But now that he has decided to stop pursuing her, he no longer sees the point. Once he arrives at school, Sajo runs into Aika and Ashita, and he starts joking around with them and treats them purely as his classmates, which annoys Aika. Because of this, Ashita immediately kicks him in the leg and tells him to stop acting weird, and Aika quietly tries to say something to him, but he walks off before noticing. On his lunch break, Sajo finds the school's corner bench empty and decides to have his lunch of unhealthy foods there. However, to his surprise, right next to his bench is the entire Public Morals Committee. Shinomiya invites him to sit with them, and when he tries to reject, Anami also asks him to sit with them, leaving Sajo with little choice but to sit down. During lunch, Sajo notices how much more confident Anami seems compared to before, talking naturally with a boy like him without panicking. Shinomiya sincerely thanks Sajo, explaining that his advice helped both her and Anami tremendously, with Anami now becoming more comfortable around men, while Shinomiya's efforts to support her teammates instead of pressuring them have strengthened the entire committee. Shinomiya even tells Sajo that he's far more dependable than he realizes and encourages him to have more confidence in himself. Then, she brings up how different he is from his own sister, Kaede, who was once a gal that Shinomiya herself had to deal with, and Sajo can only apologize for his own sister's malice. After returning to class, Sajo gets cornered by Sasaki, who complains that Sajo caused problems by sending photos from Aika's house to his sister, Yuki, who has been teasing him non-stop ever since. Just then, Aika and her girls walk in, and Sasaki pulls Sajo aside to tell him that he has feelings for Aika. The confession catches Sajo off guard, but instead of getting angry, he quietly accepts it. In his mind, Sasaki seems like the kind of person Aika actually deserves, seeing that he is someone who is athletic, popular, attractive, and probably can do the helicopter with his tongue. Compared to him, Sajo feels painfully average, and the more he thinks about it, the more convinced he becomes that stepping away from Aika was the right decision. Feeling emotionally drained, Sajo hides in the restroom for a while. Later, he spots Sasaki walking together with Aika and Ashita, and the sight stings more than he expects. As school ends and Sajo prepares to head home, Aika suddenly approaches him from behind. When asked, Aika says that she forgot something in class, and Sajo takes it that she wants him to accompany her. Then, after getting what she had forgotten, Aika asks where he disappears to during breaks lately. Sajo explains that he usually eats lunch alone, though today he ate with the Public Morals Committee. The moment he mentions eating with other girls, Aika asks if he and Shinomiya are a thing, to which Sajo says that they are simply senior and junior. She then asks if he's going to stop eating with everyone like he used to, and Sajo misunderstands the situation entirely. He insists to himself that he doesn't want to interfere with the new friendships Aika has been building, especially now that she spends more time with her classmates and Sasaki. So he doesn't answer her question and walks home with her. As they continue down the stairs, Aika complains about how messy his hair looks and tells him to fix it. Hearing that, Sajo asks what hairstyle she prefers, and that flusters her to see him asking for her preference. Sajo assures her that he's simply asking for a second opinion. So Aika gets closer to him to look closer, and Sajo gets flustered. Then, Aika says that she likes his hair being brown like before, and admits that if his hair had been dark when they first met, she probably wouldn't have spoken to him at all. Taking her words seriously, Sajo goes to buy hair dye, but only manages to find the dark brown color. Back home, he goes to dye his hair, but Kaede eventually catches him making a complete mess in the bathroom and takes over the process herself, aggressively handling his hair while insulting his lack of skill. After finishing, she tells him to wait a few days before judging the results properly. Not long afterward, the midterm rankings are posted at school, and Sajo checks his results and is shocked to see his grades have dropped badly. He quickly realizes that most of his motivation for studying came from wanting to stay close to Aika academically, and without that obsession driving him anymore, his performance slips. As he stares at the rankings, he notices Aika's name near the very top, as unlike him, her scores have improved dramatically, earning her second place in the entire year. A painful realization hits Sajo once again, that maybe he really had been holding her back this whole time. Then, Sasaki walks over and casually mentions that he placed 29th overall, and hearing that only deepens Sajo's insecurities. As to him, Sasaki now seems like the complete package, as someone who is handsome, popular, athletic, and intelligent. The comparison convinces Sajo even further that distancing himself from Aika was the correct choice all along. The next day at school, Aika and her new friends excitedly discusses plans for summer vacation to visit Aika's place again and meet her sister. During the conversation, Sasaki casually asks whether they should invite Sajo too, and some of the girls wonder if Sajo feels awkward approaching Aika now that she has become even more popular around school. Sitting nearby, Sajo overhears everything but quietly leaves the classroom without saying a word. As he walks down the hallway, he notices 3 rich girls staring into Aika's classroom through the door, talking about how they can use her. Their suspicious behavior immediately catches his attention, so he approaches them and asks what they want with Aika. His sudden appearance startles the group, especially their leader, Marika. Trying to recover, Marika mocks Sajo for obsessing over someone as attractive as Aika, but Sajo simply laughs at how dramatic her reaction was and mocks her by reenacting it, which annoys the girls enough to make them leave. The small commotion draws Aika out into the hallway, where Sajo casually brushes the whole thing off as meaningless drama. The following morning, it starts raining heavily, and Sajo and Aika happen to cross paths on the way to school and quietly continue walking beside each other. Aika speeds up slightly to catch him, but before either of them can say much, Sajo notices a speeding car approaching a large puddle near the sidewalk. Without hesitating, he jumps in front of Aika and shields her from the splash of dirty rainwater. It ends with Sajo completely soaked while Aika stands there stunned by what he just did for her. Then at school, Sajo changes to a sweatshirt, and he is drenched and freezing. Feeling guilty, Aika offers him her handkerchief, while Yamazaki jokingly tries offering his own sweaty one. Before anyone can continue teasing him, Sajo suddenly collapses onto his desk from exhaustion. Later, he wakes up during the 3rd period, feeling his head pounding heavily, but he chooses to act normally. However, Ashita immediately notices something is wrong, and the teacher scolds him for falling asleep in her class. Not being able to hold on, Sajo asks to go to the infirmary, and the teacher allows him to go, seeing how sick he is. But when he's about to exit the class, he collapses right on the door, drawing everyone's attention. While asleep, Sajo drifts in and out of consciousness, reflecting on how much time he spent hiding his insecurities behind jokes and fake confidence just to fit in. But through the blur of his fever, he recalls how Aika was the one who lent her hand to him. At the infirmary, the nurse explains to Aika and Ashita that Sajo has a high fever caused by being soaked in the rain and pushing himself too hard. The 2 girls quietly watch him sleeping behind the curtain, especially Aika, who is worried heavily. But since Sajo needs complete rest, the nurse eventually sends them back to class. Some hours later, Sajo regains consciousness and immediately tries to return to class, but the nurse firmly orders him to stay in bed and gives him a drink. Meanwhile, Aika spends the rest of the lesson distracted and is surprised with how much she's thinking about him. Just then, Shinomiya pops up in class, looking for Sajo, and everyone there starts fangirling over how beautiful and cool she is. She approaches Ashita to ask of Sajo's whereabouts, and when Ashita tells her everything, Shinomiya decides to first inform Kaide, then visit Sajo herself. Later, after school is over, Aika and Ashita carry Sajo's bag while walking toward the infirmary. Ashita jokingly suggests checking inside his bag out of curiosity, just to see if he maybe has a Mia Khalifa magazine. But Aika immediately stops her and insists they respect his gooning privacy. When they arrive, the nurse has already gone home, and when they peek behind the curtain, they find Sajo awake, but looking pale and exhausted, while staring quietly out the window. Seeing this, Aika apologizes for what happened and blames herself for him getting sick. As she moves closer, Sajo quickly tells her to stay back because he doesn't want her catching his illness too. The 2 girls then leave, shocked by how different Sajo is when he's vulnerable. Just then, Kide and Shinomiya arrive to visit him as well, and the 4 girls gather around Sajo while Kide and Shinomiya check his temperature, openly worrying about his condition. Watching 2 hot baddies worrying and touching him makes Ike jealous, even if one of them is his sister. The next day, Sajo stays home from school to recover, and without him around, Aika realizes how much she misses his presence. Later, Sajo hears the doorbell ring and is surprised to see Ike and Ashita visiting him at home. They explain that the entire class has been worried and even show him messages from everyone asking about his condition. Aika then properly apologizes for being the reason he got sick, and she wants to say something more, but being unable to express her concern honestly, Aika ends up leaving, while Ashita hands Sajo a get-well-soon gift. The next day, Sajo finally returns to school, and Aika notices him talking with Marika in the hallway. When the blonde hoe notices Aika, she approaches her and tells her that, as the smartest student in their class, she wants Aika to support her. Aika simply gives her words of encouragement, and Marika quickly reiterates that she wants Aika's support for her to run for council president. She explains that as a first-year student, it's almost impossible for her to become the council president. But since Aika is extremely popular, Marika asks for her public support to help gain attention for her campaign. As Marika continues explaining her strategy, Sajo quickly figures out what she's really doing. He bluntly points out that using Aika as the face of the campaign would completely overshadow Marika herself because everyone would focus on Aika instead of the actual candidate. Offended, Marika demands clarification in front of the entire class, so Sajo calmly responds by saying that Aika naturally draws attention wherever she goes because she's far more charming and would absolutely mog anyone else around her. Hearing that compliment instantly turns the classroom silent, and everyone looks toward Aika, whose face turns bright red from embarrassment. Meanwhile, Sajo's goofy brain doesn't understand why she's reacting so strongly since he's complimented her countless times before. Ashita quietly explains that, unlike his usual compliment, this time, Sajo defended and praised Aika sincerely in front of everyone instead of joking around privately, which overwhelms Aika completely. When Sajo casually adds that she looks cute while blushing, Aika finally reaches her limit and runs out of the classroom flustered. The next day, it starts with Sajo struggling to understand with what's being taught, and Ashita teases him for being a beanhead idiot and offers him her notes. Sajo rejects, and Yamazaki also offers him his notes, to which he rejects as well. Then, he spots Aika with her new friends, and when he sees how she's constantly surrounded by friends now, he walks away without saying a word. When lunch break arrives, Sajo heads to the cafeteria, only to realize every table is already full. Before he can turn around, Anami spots him all alone and enthusiastically waves him over to the Public Morals Committee's table. Reluctantly, he joins them, still confused about why they keep inviting him to eat with like their friends, and both Shinomiya and her committee member is insulted by his comments. While Anami checks on whether he has fully recovered from his fever, Shinomiya gets straight to the point and asks Sajo if he would consider joining the Public Morals Committee, which completely catches him off guard, but he quickly rejects. Shinomiya explains that she'll be stepping down as committee president in a few months, and the group has struggled to recruit reliable male members for some time, as according to her, most of the current candidates only care about the title itself rather than the responsibilities that come with it. She reminds Sajo how helpful and surprisingly insightful all of his advice has been and says that she sees real potential in him, so she wants him to consider. As Sajo struggles to process the offer, Anami suddenly reaches over and gently grabs his hand while wishing him luck, shocking everyone. The unexpected physical contact immediately throws Sajo into panic mode, and he jerks his hand away without thinking, which instantly upsets the older girls sitting nearby. Realizing how rude that looked, Sajo awkwardly grabs Anami's hand again in an attempt to fix the situation, only making the girls even more pissed. After managing to escape the wrath of the committee members, Sajo unexpectedly runs into Aika, who notices his messy hair and asks what happened to him. Too embarrassed to explain the chaos from lunch, Sajo avoids answering, but Aika steps closer anyway and tells him to stay still before gently fixing his hair for him. The sudden closeness completely catches Sajo off guard, and flustered by the moment, he ruins the atmosphere by awkwardly offering to pay her for fixing his hair. Annoyed by the ridiculous comment, Aika immediately pulls away and leaves him standing there alone again. Later that day, the entire school gathers for presentations from the various student leadership groups, from the councils to the student committee. The mood shifts when Shinomiya confidently takes the stage, immediately capturing everyone's attention with her aura and Megan Fox-like beauty. Afterward, the student council representatives appear, including the charismatic Hayato, who is popular with the girls purely because his voice can make the seafood drip. Back in class, everyone excitedly talks about the assembly until the teacher interrupts and announces that the class must choose one boy and one girl to assist with the upcoming school tour. Since nobody volunteers willingly, the teacher settles the issue with rock-paper-scissors matches. Sajo wins his round and avoids the responsibility, while Aika loses hers and becomes one of the official helpers. The moment that happens, Sasaki immediately volunteers to take the remaining male position, pretending it's because he wants to help out, but everyone there and their blind grandmas can see that he's mostly doing it to get chummy so he can clap Aika. Watching the scene unfold, Sajo quietly feels frustrated with how pathetic his indecisiveness is, but Ashita notices the look on his face and comments that Sasaki and Aika actually seem well suited for each other. Sajo forces himself to agree, though Ashita can tell he doesn't mean it, so she bluntly calls him a coward for refusing to act on his feelings, and Sajo silently accepts the criticism because deep down he thinks she's right. Afterward, the first school term officially ends, and summer vacation finally begins, and as Sajo leaves the classroom, he glances back at Sasaki before quietly walking away. Behind him, Aika watches him leaving while feeling conflicted about her own feelings. Then, once vacation starts, The girls start theirs by making plans and ensuring they get some days to spend it with each other. Ashita brings up Sajo and how they should include him, and Aika doesn't hate the idea. Meanwhile, Sajo spends most of his time working part-time at a local bookstore, and his manager praises him for how efficient and dependable he is around the shop. One afternoon, while cleaning outside the store, Sajo notices 3 bullies harassing a little jit nearby, and like a true Chad, he steps in and helps the little jit. When Sajo asks him, he learns that his name is Kota. Sajo helps contact his family, and not long later, Kota's older sister arrives to pick him up. She thanks Sajo repeatedly for protecting her brother, and tells Kota he was lucky such a hot and cool Chad came to help him. The praise leaves Sajo unexpectedly flustered, as he is not used to being openly admired by someone so warm and beautiful. That evening, Sajo happily reflects on the encounter while making food in the kitchen at home. Kaide eventually walks in and casually orders him to make coffee for her as well. During their conversation, she brings up the Public Morals Committee offer she heard about from Shinamaya, and Sajo quickly dismisses the idea, saying the role sounds like too much pressure for him. Kaide then suggests he join the student council instead, mentioning it would make things easier for her before she graduates, but even then, Sajo remains hesitant about taking on any major responsibility, and Kaide simply tells him to think about it before leaving the kitchen. The next day at the bookstore, Kota's older sister visits again to personally thank Sajo one more time, and she explains that Kota has become much more confident ever since the incident and has finally started playing outside normally again. The two end up chatting comfortably for nearly an hour, and Sajo repeatedly grows shy around her sweet and ara energy. Before leaving, she shyly hands him a small gift and asks if she can visit again sometime, and when he says that she can, she gets happy and excited. After she's gone, Sajo opens the package and finds a cute dolphin-themed scarf inside, and even though it's childish, the thoughtful gesture genuinely touches him. The next day, Sajo spends time walking along the coast with Kota's sister, Fuka, while the ocean breeze rolls in around them. During their walk, a strong gust of wind catches their attention, and Sajo notices the bracelet wrapped around her wrist. Fuka, meanwhile, spots the dolphin-themed handkerchief she gave him still tucked in his pocket, and seeing him actually use her gift makes her light up with excitement, while Sajo awkwardly stands there, unsure how to react. Later, Fuka visits the bookstore again, and the two start talking like usual. Sajo notices the bracelet once more and compliments it, which genuinely surprises her. She happily explains that her father bought it from a small handmade craft shop near the beak, and when she lightly grabs his arm while talking, Sajo nearly loses his bottle cap and starts screaming everywhere before suddenly remembering Aika's upcoming birthday. An idea immediately forms in his head, and he decides that he wants to buy Aika a handmade gift from that same shop. Taking advantage of the opportunity, he asks Fuka if she would be willing to guide him there, and she enthusiastically agrees. As they head out together, Fuka becomes a little nervous about being seen with him in public, and she comments that her outfit feels too flashy for the occasion and says she would normally prefer something simpler. Trying to be a reassuring gentleman, Sajo awkwardly tells her the outfit suits her well, which catches her off guard. At the same time, Aika, Ashita, and Aika's younger sister, Ahiri, are also heading toward the beach for their own day out. While passing Sajo's house, Ashita jokingly suggests inviting him along, but when they actually try to, nobody answers the doorbell. Assuming he's busy working, the girls continue toward the ocean without realizing Sajo is heading to the exact same area. After arriving near the coastline, Sajo and Fuka stop for a break to enjoy the view, and Fuka teasingly asks if he came hoping to see some busty girls in swimsuits, but Sajo immediately denies it. She then complains about how inconvenient swimming has become because she constantly needs new swimsuits as she grows older with her plots growing, and Sajo awkwardly struggles to respond to her comment. Just then, she sticks her melons onto him to pull him away, before quickly pulling away and apologizing for making things uncomfortable. After some more fan service for our virgin eyes, they eventually arrive at the handmade craft shop, and the owner warmly greets Fuka like a familiar regular while Sajo browses through countless handmade shells and decorations, completely overwhelmed by the choices, as no matter what he picks up, he can't decide what would suit Aika best. Noticing his frustration, Fuka asks whether the gift is meant for someone special or for just some late-night fun call. Realizing there's no point hiding it, Sajo finally tells her about his long, pathetic, simping, one-sided feelings for Aika. But instead of reacting negatively, Fuka becomes deeply invested in helping him choose the perfect gift. She then excitedly suggests different handmade items while listening closely to his story, and Sajo explains how Aika rejected him many times over the years, yet somehow he never truly gave up on admiring her. He admits that his feelings for her pushed him to work harder in school and motivated many of the choices he made, and even now, despite knowing a relationship is unlikely, he still wants to give her a meaningful birthday present simply to show his gratitude, believing that if the gift can make her smile even once, that alone would make him happy. Fuka quietly realizes how sincere Sajo's feelings really are, and his honesty deeply moves her. Encouraged by her support, Sajo stops overthinking everything and decides to simply choose something heartfelt rather than perfect. Elsewhere, Sajo notices a framed photo hanging inside the shop showing a younger Fuka, and the realization completely shocks him. Up until now, he had assumed Fuka was much older and more mature, but he suddenly learns that she is actually younger than he is. Later, Sajo starts working on a custom shell accessory for Aika's birthday gift, while Fuka enthusiastically cheers him on nearby. As they work, their conversation gradually shifts toward romance. Fuka shyly admits that she has never dated anyone before, and Sajo casually tells her that falling in love is often part of growing up emotionally. A few hours later, Aika, Ashita, and Ayiri spend the afternoon enjoying the beach together before eventually stumbling across the same craft shop. Although the hands-on crafting session has already ended for the day, the owner still allows them to browse the store. While looking around, Ayiri suddenly notices a newly displayed photograph featuring Sajo and Fuka together from earlier that day. Not long afterward, Aika and the others leave the shop and grab food near the beach. While sitting together, Aika briefly catches sight of someone in the distance who looks suspiciously like Sajo, but the glimpse is so quick that she can't be sure, and the possibility immediately sticks in her mind. When Aika mentions it aloud, Ashita jokingly suggests that Sajo might be out on a date with a total bombshell he's secretly dating, and Aika immediately rejects the idea as ridiculous, though the thought quietly lingers in the back of her mind anyway. As evening falls, Sajo and Fuka ride the bus home together while continuing their casual conversation. Exhausted from the long day, Fuka eventually falls asleep against the window beside him, and while quietly watching over her, Sajo suddenly receives a notification on his phone. It's a message from Ashita in their class group chat. Curious, Sajo opens it and immediately freezes, seeing that it's a photo of Aika running along the beach in her swimsuit, with Ayiri nearby. Realizing that Aika and the others had spent the entire day at the exact same beach, leaves Sajo completely flustered. Days later, during a quiet shift at the bookstore, Sajo asks the owner what he plans to do once summer vacation ends, and Sajo can no longer work there regularly. The old man enthusiastically explains that he is already searching for a new employee and jokes that Sajo will soon have to guide younger workers himself like a proper senior. After the owner leaves, the bell above the entrance rings, and a soft voice calls out to him. Sajo turns around and is surprised to see a random chick there, but when he looks closer, he realizes that it's Mina, the shy girl who sits beside him in class. He asks her why she's there, and she nervously explains that she noticed the recruitment sign outside and wants to apply for the part-time position. But knowing how she is, Sajo worries for her, wondering whether someone as timid as Mina could really manage customer service. Then, he informs this to the owner, who becomes unexpectedly excited the moment he sees her. As it turns out, Mina is already a regular customer and loves books more than Luffy loves eating his meat, making her an ideal fit in his eyes. Later, after briefly checking her resume, the owner hires her almost instantly, and Sajo tries stopping him, but the owner refuses to budge. He then introduces Mina to his wife, who warmly welcomes her but quickly notices that Mina's long bangs constantly cover her face. Before Sajo fully realizes what's happening, the woman suddenly pulls out a pair of scissors and offers to trim Mina's hair on the spot. Wanting to save Mina from this absolute nonsense of a situation, Sajo quickly steps in, and after thinking carefully about how to handle it, he formally introduces himself as Mina's classmate and future co-worker before calmly asking whether her bangs ever interfere with reading books. Mina quietly explains that she usually uses hairpins whenever they get in the way and demonstrates by pinning her hair back. And for the first time, Sajo clearly sees her face. The simple solution satisfies the owner's wife, and the sudden haircut disaster is avoided. The next day, Sajo begins teaching Mina the basics of the job, but her being a chick more shy than you losers first time, it proves a challenge to Sajo. She answers questions quietly and struggles to communicate with customers properly, and Sajo consistently reminds her to keep her hair tied back neatly, and teaches her how to organize shelves more efficiently. He also encourages her to speak clearly instead of simply nodding at people. Unfortunately, their first difficult customer arrives sooner than expected in the form of an overly enthusiastic customer, who corners Mina at the counter and rapidly complains about books the store does not have. The intense conversation completely overwhelms her, and realizing the situation is getting out of control, Sajo quickly steps in, tells the customer to just read a peek like berserk, and sends him away before things escalate further. When Sajo turns back toward Mina, he notices she looks close to tears. So later, he speaks seriously with the bookstore owner and admits that Mina may not be suited for a customer service job because interacting with people seems like the ultimate kryptonite for a shy girl like her. The owner reluctantly agrees and asks Sa-jo to discuss the situation with her directly. Sa-jo eventually finds Mina in the back room. After the owner's wife leaves them alone, he honestly explains how demanding customer service can be and asks whether she truly believes she can handle difficult customers without becoming overwhelmed. Sa-jo bluntly tells her that if talking to people is this painful, perhaps she would be happier simply remaining a customer instead of forcing herself into a stressful environment. At first, Mina quietly listens with her head lowered, but then, to Sa-jo's surprise, she suddenly tells him that her mama did not raise a quitter. With tears forming in her eyes, she bows deeply and begs him to let her continue working there. The unexpected determination completely catches Sa-jo off guard, and he quickly tells her to raise her head. Just then, the owner enters the room, and after what Sa-jo saw, he insists that they give Mina another opportunity to prove herself, to which the owner happily agrees to. That night, Sa-jo relaxes at home while browsing through his phone and notices that Aika and Ashita are having a group video call. The girls are busy talking about parfaits and homeworks, and when this dingus joins the call, Aika immediately turns her camera off out of embarrassment, leaving Sa-jo mostly talking with Ashita instead. He then explains the stressful situation at work and admits he feels guilty for being so harsh toward Mina earlier that day. Ashita assumes Mina probably will not return to work after that experience, but Aika quietly speaks up and offers a different perspective. She tells Sa-jo that, as Mina's senior, he was simply being honest and responsible about the situation, and her words reassure him more than he expected. Sensing the atmosphere between the two of them, Ashita decides to play Cupid and suddenly claims she needs to leave and exits the call, leaving Sa-jo and Aika alone together. The sudden silence makes both of them awkwardly nervous and unsure how to continue the conversation. Sa-jo panics and abruptly ends the call himself, unintentionally disappointing Aika. The next day at work, Sa-jo is shocked by how much Mina has changed overnight, seeing her actively greet customers, communicate more clearly, and work hard to improve at every task he gives her, and the dramatic effort honestly impresses him. During their break, Sa-jo finally asks why she is trying so desperately to keep this part-time job, and Mina hesitates for a moment before quietly explaining that she wants to become more independent, especially from her older brother, who is also involved with the school's public morals committee. She explains that the two of them used to spend a lot of time together reading books when she was younger, where she got to sit on his fat belly while reading. But things changed after she accidentally walked into his big bro getting his bigger schnitzel gobbled by his girlfriend. And ever since then, Mina has felt distant and uncomfortable around him, which motivated her to become more independent and start changing herself. Sa-jo immediately regrets asking such a personal question, and completely overwhelmed by the uncomfortable story, he can only stare in shock while internally panicking over the unexpected confession. After hearing Mina's personal story, Sa-jo finally begins to understand the determination hidden beneath her shy personality, and he realizes that this part-time job means far more to her than simply earning money. For Mina, it represents independence from her older brother and a chance to move forward on her own terms, so Sa-jo encourages her to do her best. Watching her work afterward, Sa-jo starts seeing her differently, as no longer just the quiet girl sitting beside him in class but someone genuinely trying to overcome her fears little by little. However, he knows that she still needs to overcome dealing with customers, so he insists that she watches him work while slowly learning. Just then, Fuuka pops up to visit the bookstore again, and Sa-jo introduces her to Mina. While thinking about his issue with dealing with Mina, he remembers how Fuuka loves to read, so he tells Fuuka how Mina is the same way, and she quickly latches on to Mina, and the two girls quickly get along surprisingly well. Wanting Mina to feel comfortable socializing, Sa-jo steps back and lets them talk naturally together about their love for books, especially ones involving 10-foot-tall werewolves who got a 10-inch Subway sandwich for their dinglings. The two bond over their shared love of reading, and Mina even recommends one of her favorite books, which Fuuka promises to check out later. Then, Sa-jo notices that the store is quiet that afternoon, so he decides that it is the perfect chance to help Mina practice her customer service skills further. He suggests doing a role-playing exercise where he pretends to be a difficult customer asking complicated questions, asking her about which furry comics are the best ones, and Mina nervously tries answering him while Fuuka watches from nearby, amused by the whole situation. Just then, Fuuka joins in too, acting as another demanding customer. Although Mina struggles at first, she slowly manages to respond with more confidence than before, and by the end of the exercise, Sa-jo is genuinely impressed with her improvement and feels reassured that she may be able to manage the bookstore properly someday, even after he eventually leaves the job himself. However, the mention of him leaving seems to bother Mina more than he expected. She then quietly walks away afterward and begins organizing books by herself. Watching her from a distance, Seo-jo wonders whether she will truly be okay once he is no longer there to guide her. On his walk home, he realizes that once summer is over, he won't be friends with Mina anymore. At home, Seo-jo pours himself some milk while thinking about Mina and the pressure she puts on herself. Just then, Kaide enters the kitchen and casually asks him to make coffee for her like he's her servant. Even while preparing it, Seo-jo keeps reflecting on how isolated Mina seems and how much effort she is putting into changing herself. When he finally hands Kaide the coffee, she takes a sip and reacts like he spilled his goon into it, then returns the drink to him. Confused by her reaction, Seo-jo tries the drink himself and immediately realizes he accidentally used salt instead of sugar. Back at the bookstore the following day, they continue practicing Mina's ability to handle customers, and Mina looks at the cookbook she read during her break. Seeing that makes her recall how she once tried learning how to cook for her older brother as a surprise. But when she went to him, she ended up meeting his girlfriend instead, and even when she saw him eating her homemade omelet, she felt pain in her heart, realizing that some dumb hoe took her beloved brother from her. Sometime later, Mina's older brother arrives at the bookstore looking worried, revealing that he has been searching for her and wants to talk. He invites Mina to have lunch with him, but the moment he tries reaching out to her, Mina panics and instinctively hides behind Seo-jo, refusing to face him directly. Seeing how tense the situation is, Seo-jo calmly suggests moving somewhere quieter to talk things through properly. So the group heads to a nearby 7-Eleven, where Mina's brother apologizes for becoming distant after starting his relationship. He admits he unintentionally neglected Mina after he started cracking some cheeks and says he wants to repair their sibling bond. Suddenly, his girlfriend, Yuri, arrives as well, and together, the two of them express concern about Mina working in customer service, believing the job may be too stressful for someone as sensitive as her. Throughout the conversation, they continue treating Mina like someone fragile who cannot make decisions for herself. Watching Mina sit there silently while shrinking under the pressure finally pushes Seo-jo to speak up. He firmly tells them that they have not seen how hard Mina has worked to grow stronger, and he talks about the effort she puts into helping customers, organizing the store, and facing uncomfortable situations despite her fears. Seo-jo explains that protecting Mina forever will only prevent her from becoming independent, and his words leave both Mina's brother and Yuri speechless and proud of her. Afterward, Mina asks Seo-jo if she made a mistake working part-time, but Seo-jo assures her that after seeing how much she has grown as a person at work, he believes that working part-time is the right thing to do, which makes Mina tear up. Meanwhile, at school, Aika and Sasaki spend time preparing materials together for the upcoming school tour. But while Sasaki keeps trying to impress Aika and get closer to her, Aika is more focused on her group chat that has Seo-jo and is more interested in what he's doing. Back at the bookstore, Seo-jo checks on Mina once more while Fuka chats with her nearby. Happy to see how naturally the two girls have become friends, Seo-jo walks over to Mina and gently removes the trainee tag from her uniform, seeing that her training period is officially over. He congratulates her, and Mina can only smile at his kindness. Another scorching summer afternoon passes as Seo-jo stands outside the bookstore, spraying water across the pavement to cool the air a little. While he drifts through his thoughts, a bright voice suddenly calls out to him, and he finds Fuka running towards him, curves in display, and she's showcasing her hair playfully. Their conversation quickly gets disrupted when Mina quietly appears by the entrance, joining in their conversation. Once inside the air-conditioned bookstore, Fuka and Mina immediately bond over an old fantasy novel series they both adore. Watching from nearby, Seo-jo feels genuinely happy seeing Mina, who used to struggle so much with socializing, naturally connect with someone else, which gives him a strange sense of relief. While organizing books, his phone vibrates with notifications from the group chat about the upcoming school visit event. Someone uploads a blurry photo from the student guide meeting, and Seo-jo instinctively saves it after spotting IK in the background. That evening, Seo-jo relaxes at home with his sister, offering her a cold drink, and Kaide praises him for seriously committing to his part-time job while also helping Mina. Shocked that she somehow knows about all this, Seo-jo questions her, only for Kaide to proudly claim she has her own information network. He teases her for being creepy, which nearly earns him her crusty toes to his nostrils, which is what some people would take pleasure in. Since his bookstore job is about to end, Kaide suddenly suggests that he assist with the school visit event, as according to her, the staff is overwhelmed, especially the Public Morals Committee, even after they got help from the Student Council. Seo-jo refuses immediately, but Kaide cleverly pressures him by mentioning Shinomiya and how he rejected her offer, knowing that he will feel bad about it. With no real way to escape, he reluctantly agrees, and Kaide then orders him to call Shinomiya right away and volunteer. When he does so, the phone call turns painfully awkward, with Shinomiya being surprised to receive a late-night call from a boy. When he offers her his help with the school visit event, she politely rejects it, saying they can manage without him. But Kaede keeps pushing him from the background, refusing to let him back out. So Sajo blurts out that he wants to help because he wants to see Shinomiya in person, and his sudden honesty completely rizzes her sideways. After managing to calm her sweet cheeks down, she finally accepts, warning him that the work will mostly involve heavy labor. Embarrassed but committed, Sajo responds that anything for her would be easy, and Kaede silently gives him an approving thumbs up with her sweet and crusty toes. The day of the school visit finally arrives, and Sajo meets Shinomiya to receive his assignments. Ever since the strange phone call the previous night, Shinomiya is extremely flustered around him. Trying to ease the tension, she explains that the glamorous role of guiding visitors belongs to the student council, while the public morals committee handles the exhausting behind-the-scenes work like carrying equipment and preparing rooms. To her, they are the hidden supporters making the event possible. And since most committee members are girls, she tells him that his manly, muscular help means a lot. Sajo jokingly declares it the perfect chance to display his masculinity, earning a playful hold from her. Then, Sajo takes a look at the students who will act as guides, realizing only hot dudes and chicks get picked. But when he locks eyes with Sasaki, he quickly walks away. Then, he meets up with the discipline committee, and Mina's brother is there to thank him for his positive effect on his sister, making her more open and happy. Elsewhere, Aika spends the event acting as one of the main student guides alongside Sasaki. But despite the task, her mind is far away from the tour itself, and when Sasaki invites her to watch his soccer practice, she politely declines. Her thoughts drift back to the past, where growing up surrounded by financial struggles, Aika never has the freedom to enjoy herself like everyone else. She spent most of her time alone, avoiding distractions and focusing entirely on responsibility. But then, Sajo suddenly crashed into her world one afternoon while she was eating lunch alone, and seeing something familiar in his awkwardness, she helped him. The next day, he formally thanked her for helping him up before unexpectedly confessing his feelings almost immediately afterward. Overwhelmed by her own family problems, Aika rejected him without hesitation. Still, Sajo never stopped approaching her, and his endless optimism and relentless attention annoyed her constantly. Yet over time, his presence quietly changed her life. Rumors about the strange boy always following her caused classmates to notice her more, speak with her more often, and slowly pull her out of isolation. Without realizing it, Sajo helped expand the small world she had trapped herself inside. As the graduation approached, there was a brief period when Sajo stopped showing up around her, and to her own surprise, she felt disappointed by his absence. However, everything changed again when he found that Sajo would be in the same school as her once more, proudly announcing that he had also been accepted because he wanted to stay close to her. As they walked together, he continued showering her with embarrassing compliments while she could only yell at him in frustration and embarrassment. Now, back in the present, Sajo's recent distance leaves a painful emptiness in Aika's chest, and she realizes how deeply his constant presence has become part of her everyday life. The overwhelming urge to see him consumes her, and she suddenly starts running through the school hallways searching for him, while memories of him, his voice, his simping praises, and especially his painful promise to stop bothering her, fill her mind. At last, she spots him in the distance carrying a chair, and she rushes after him, but he disappears into someplace else before she can reach him. Refusing to give up, Aika continues searching through the building from door to door until, while sprinting down a hallway, she finally crashes directly into him. As they get back up, Sajo stretches his sore body, and Aika finds the sight oddly amusing. Embarrassed, he explains he has been stuck doing physical labor for the school event all day, and to his shock, she admits that she has been watching him work. That flusters him, knowing his beautiful angel is watching him, and without warning, Aika steps closer than she ever normally would. Before Sajo can react, she leans in slightly and comments that he smells like sweat after briefly catching his scent. The sudden closeness completely shuts his brain down, knowing that Ik has never invaded his personal space like this before, and Sajo struggles to process what is happening. Trying to recover, he asks why she was sprinting through the hallways earlier, and Aika hesitates before quietly admitting that she wanted to see him. The answer hits Sajo harder than the leaf Snoop Dogg has been getting, especially when she casually adds that she missed him during the break. Completely overwhelmed, Sajo abruptly changes the topic and starts talking about his part-time job instead. He mentions that the relationship between him and Mina at work has been going amazingly, and he thanks her for her advice early on. However, he notices a faint shift pass across Aika's face, something close to jealousy, and realizing he accidentally dampened her mood, Sajo quickly compliments her tan. That instantly reminds Aika of the beach trip with Ashita, which then reminds both of them about the swimsuit photo on his phone. She demands that he delete it right now, and she reaches for his phone, but Sajo instinctively grabs her hand to stop her, pulling her to his body, until Ashita suddenly appears with her usual third-party energy, instantly breaking the tension. To lighten the atmosphere, Sajo buys drinks from a vending machine, and the three of them sit together on a nearby bench. As they discuss the school tour, Sajo explains that he's there helping after his own sister blackmailed and forced him to help. He then jokes that a guy like him could never become one of the hot student guides, and Ashita teases him, asking whether he secretly wishes he could trade places with Sasaki beside Aika. Sajo denies it immediately, but Aika unexpectedly defends him. She points out how well he helped Mina through her problems at the bookstore, and insists he would have done a great job guiding students as her guide partner. Ashita says that getting into people's business is basically part of Sajo's personality by now, and Aika lightly agrees, but she adds that he should avoid bothering Mina too much, and the harmless comment unexpectedly hits a sensitive spot. Sajo's expression darkens as he quietly says that he does not plan on bothering anyone anymore. The sudden shift makes Aika realize she hurt him without meaning to, and slowly, she inches her hand closer toward him, but pulls back. However, Aika suddenly stands and asks if he will return tomorrow for the second day of the event, wanting to meet up again. Sajo says he still has some work left to finish, but jokingly promises he will come back anyway. The following day, the school buzzes with excited school visitors. On stage, the charismatic student council president, Hayato, effortlessly charms the audience with his speech, while from the sidelines, Sajo watches, helping move equipment with the other support staff. Outside, Sasaki and Aika welcome their assigned group of school students, which unexpectedly includes Fuuka and several of her friends. After introducing Aika, one of the girls immediately asks whether she and Sasaki are dating, causing him to blush. Aika calmly explains that they are only classmates and asks them not to ask any more personal questions, which disappoints the girls and Sasaki. As the tour continues, both Sasaki and Aika impress the visitors with their professionalism. During one hallway stop, they come across a group of boys harassing Rina, and Aika steps forward and firmly shuts them down, warning them that the school has no place for troublemakers and she will turn their dangleberries into fruit punch. Her sharp confidence silences the boys instantly and even leaves Rina impressed. After the tour, the girls thank Aika and Sasaki for their guide, but Fuuka excitedly tells her friends that she wishes Sajo had been their guide instead, and her friends tease her over how much she has a crush on him. Later on, the goons return to apologize for their earlier behavior to Aika, and Aika forgives them. Just then, Sajo passes through the hallway carrying equipment, and the moment Fuuka lays eyes on him, she loudly calls his name and runs over, while Aika and Sasaki naturally follow behind her. Aika watches in jealousy as Fuuka glaze him like he's the ultimate Chad, and her friends surround him, enthusiastically talking about how kind and romantic he was to Fuuka during their whole summer together. Hearing all of this leaves Aika with an increasingly complicated expression, while Fuuka becomes so embarrassed by the teasing that she eventually drags her friends away. Seeing this, Sasaki quickly walks away, and Aika drags Sajo with her. Then, Ashita begins mocking Sajo for apparently being such a gentleman, but Aika is bothered by everything she heard. Unable to hold back anymore, she starts questioning him about Fuuka and the beach trip. Realizing there is no escape, Sajo explains the entire situation honestly. After hearing the full story, the girls finally calm down, though Aika still insists the swimsuit photo should be deleted before he uses it for questionable reasons. Sajo desperately negotiates, promising he will only look at it once a day, and after thinking for a bit, Aika tells him that he can keep the picture under one condition. Looking directly into his eyes, Aika asks Sajo to start spending more time with her and Ashita from now on. Completely stunned, Sajo immediately agrees with a huge grin on his face, while Ashita happily watches her two friends slowly become something closer than either of them wants to admit. That night, the trio make plans on where they should go, but Ashita warns Aika through phone that if she's not careful, Sajo can become more distant towards her, which Aika doesn't want. Some days later, it starts raining while Sajo is working with Mina at the bookstore, and he moves stacks of books away from the outside to avoid the rain. But just as the rain grows heavier, Aika comes running towards him, looking for shelter. Mina quickly grabs a towel and hands it to her, so she can dry herself off, and still confused by her sudden appearance, Sajo asks why she is wandering around in weather like this, and Aika casually explains that she happens to be nearby and simply wants to spend time with him. The answer completely catches him off guard, but recalling what Ashita warned him of, she starts asking questions about his time working at the bookstore. He tells her that he's planning to quit in the near future, and when she asks if it's okay for him to do that, he assures her that Mina will take over after him. Just then, Fuuka enters the store, equally drenched from the rain, and Aika greets her while handing over another towel, and Fuka happily dries herself before spotting Mina in the back room, calling out for her. Excited, she immediately heads over to join her. Sajo expresses how Fuka has been visiting the store a lot during the summer, and Aika comments about how surprisingly comfortable he is around them, which Sajo brushes it off by saying he simply tries to be friendly with everyone. That angers Aika, and she suddenly turns as if she is about to leave, but when Sajo reaches out to stop her, her wet shoes slide against the floor. She falls and he quickly catches her like the hot dudes in Korean dramas, and for a moment, they just simply gaze at each other's eyes. However, Mina and Fuka disrupt the moment by popping up and apologizing for eavesdropping on their moment together, before shutting the door to give the pair some privacy. Trying to distract herself from the embarrassment, Aika brings up their plan to spend time together again, and this time, she formally invites him to her house and explains that she wants him to get along with her little sister, Ahiri, so he can be like her big brother figure. Hearing that, Sajo gets more red than your cheeks after yo daddy spank you see, and he happily agrees to go. A few days later, Sajo nervously arrives at Aika's home alongside Ashita, and seeing how much he's bricking it, Ashita rings the doorbell for him. The door opens to reveal Aika, whose beauty completely makes Sajo drool, and her sister, who, the moment she sees Sajo, is confused on who this bozo is. But within minutes, the two get closer like two peas in a pod, as he gives him piggyback rides. Suddenly, Sajo collapses due to fatigue, and Aika scolds her sister for acting so spoiled. But Ahiri quickly returns and drags him back into being her horse, while both Aika and Ashita can only warmly smile at the sight of the two bonding. They then take a break, and Ashita reveals how Aika is the same as Ahiri when she was little, and when Sajo imagines a cheerful Ahiri, she herself stops his thought process. Later, after a few more piggyback rides, Sajo sits there burned out, but suddenly, Aika's mother pops up, and Sajo quickly bows to introduces himself to his future mother-in-law. To his shock, the mother already knows about him from Aika's stories, and before she gets to spill the tea, Aika decides it's time to go home. On their walk home, Sajo asks what Aika has been telling her mom about him, and Ashita decides to give them privacy, so she quickly makes an excuse and heads off on her own, intentionally leaving Sajo and Aika alone together. The two continue walking, and after some silence, Aika finally opens up and admits that school has become far more enjoyable for her lately, and that everything started changing after she first met Sajo back in the cafeteria. While he struggles to respond, Aika softly thanks him for everything he has done for her over the years. She explains that, despite how annoying he could sometimes be, his constant presence helped pull her out of the lonely shell she used to hide inside. Sajo expresses how she still feels guilty for bothering her for so long, but Aika stops him and tells him that she had always kept herself emotionally distant from everyone else, and that he was the person who slowly changed that. Then, with all her courage, she tells him that even after making new friends, she feels his presence missing. So she tells him that the place she truly belongs is right next to him. Before Sajo can even process her confession, the night sky suddenly erupts with the beautiful fireworks. Scared, Aika holds him close, and as the echo fades into the summer night, she slowly looks up at him and tells him not to avoid her anymore. With the fireworks finished, they continue walking, and Sajo wants to hold her hand more than anything, but chooses to stop. However, Aika wants the exact same thing, and seeing that he tried to grab her hand, she instead grabs his. Holding hands tightly, they continue walking home together, sharing a quiet and intimate moment, just for the night. The next morning, unlike all the countless mornings before, it is Aika waiting for him on the way to school, and she goes to fix his tie to show him her compassion. Then, they walk to school side by side, and while they're still awkward, they laugh it off, knowing it's a start of something new. If you watch this anime recap until the end, comment down, simping. That's it for this video. Leave a like if you enjoyed it, and if you want to see more, watch this video on screen.